muscle burning. I have taken blood samples from hundreds of people who had a high blood lactate concentration. Never once have I burnt myself. We're not really sure what that burning sensation is, but I really don't even like to use the word burning because it's not the same thing as putting your hand over a stove or something, right? That would be burning. Don't do that. Hydrochloric acid, don't do that. Her eyes were burning that day in chemistry class. Don't do that ever. It's one of those things. Don't try that at home. Don't put your hand over a stove or pour hydrochloric acid on your skin. When we're running fast, there's also an increase in muscle temperature. And that alone could be the reason why your muscles feel that intense feeling that they don't feel when you're just out for an easy jog. But we know it's not because of lactate. So this is kind of fitting for this conference. You know, Jane Fonda may have been the very first person to ask her exercise video audience to feel the burn. You know, nowadays everyone's got an exercise video and they all say feel the burn. Jane may have been the first one to do that since she was the pioneer of all this. And I used to have a crush on Jane Fonda. You know, those leg warmers, that's pretty hot. She's still here, or did she go home? Lactate does not cause muscle soreness. When you do a workout that you're not used to doing, you have some little damage to the muscle fibers. Because as we all know in this room, that's how muscle fibers get stronger. Whether you're lifting heavy weights off the ground, or you're running an interval workout, or you go run 20 miles, or you've never done that before, you're going to get some damage to the tissue. And that tissue heals and it improves in some aspect, whether it's a strength or it's endurance. And that's how we get stronger or improve our endurance or whatever we're trying to improve. But we know it has nothing to do with the lactate. So if you did the hardest workout you could possibly do and raise lactate levels to the roof, and then you just sit around for 30 or 60 minutes and take another blood sample, blood lactate will be back down to its normal resting value within 30 to 60 minutes after the workout is over. But when do you get sore? A day or two later, right? So first we have this mechanical injury to the muscle fibers, literally the myosin and the actin breaking apart from one another. And incidentally, that's why eccentric contractions cause more soreness, because there's more damage, because muscles only know how to do one thing. What does a muscle know how to do? Well, yeah, obviously, but in which way? There's 3 different kinds of contractions, right? That was a trick question. Which way? Muscles only know how to shorten in response to any stimuli. Whether it's the chaotic noise of a jackhammer, what happens? What do people do? Or the gentle touch of a lover? Muscles only know how to contract. They only know how to shorten. What's so funny about that? It's a good metaphor. What? Right after jack. So muscles only know how to shorten. All right, just for future reference, I'll handle jokes. Muscles only know how to shorten. And if you know that by looking at how actin and myosin interact with one another. That head of myosin is cocked in such a way that it's cocked at an angle to actin, is it not? Yes or yes? It can only go that way, right? Open up an exercise physiology textbook when you get out of here and look at the picture of actin and myosin. The head is tilted at an angle. It can only go one way. It can only shorten. But what's an eccentric contraction? The muscle is trying to shorten, but the external load is greater than the ability of the muscle to produce force. And so it forces it the other way. And that myosin literally breaks off from the actin. And there's a ton of muscle damage with eccentric contraction. And that's why you get more sore. Because what happens when there's trauma inside your body? Any kind of trauma. If I punch you in the arm, what's going to happen? Don't worry, I'm not going to punch you. What's going to happen if I punch you in the arm? Well, obviously it's going to hurt, but what happens? I'm glad you think I look that muscular that it's going to hurt. When there's any trauma inside your body, what's the response? Inflamed, right? We have a rush of white blood cells to the area to start the healing, and we get local edema, inflammation right there. And that's, in response to that, that's when people start to feel sore. In response to that local inflammation. And that's why it's delayed. That's why we hear DOM, delayed onset muscle soreness. Scientists like to have a fancy acronym for everything. It drives me insane. Delayed onset muscle soreness. Because first, immediately, after the work, right when you're doing the workout, you have the muscle damage. But then it takes some time before you have the inflammatory response.